Welcome to the Jeff and Jami Show, powered by Streaking. Today we've got three interesting topics that I'm going to spring on Jami. First, a Disney princess study that's been done a couple of different times. What that means. Yeah. Your child's first smartphone.
Oh, good.
And how your body tells your sleeping quality is poor.
Okay, great. I'll perk up and not be tired.
I was thinking about actually that. Let's just start with that one for just a second. I was thinking about it because you and I have said so many times how we feel so tired during the day and everything else. And I was thinking, well, is it just because I'm not sleeping well? And then I thought, does anyone sleep well that have children?
Yes. Or stress in life, or a job, or not a job, or good grief. There's a million reasons why we don't sleep well.
So we'll come back to those other two articles. But let's start with this one because it's kind of interesting. As it starts, it's how your body tells you that your sleep quality is poor.
Okay.
All right. So as you look at this, it talks about experts typically recommend between 7 and 9 hours of sleep. When's the last time you got 7 hours of uninterrupted sleep, or even 9 hours of uninterrupted sleep?
Even 9 hours. I don't even remember the last time I got 9 hours of sleep. Yeah. I don't even remember.
I don't remember that. So who are these experts? Do they live in a cave somewhere?
They're the ones that are getting 9 hours of sleep.
I mean, seriously, how do you think you can get 9 hours of sleep? What do you think?
I do think that, so I would like to focus a little bit on the first part of that, of how to listen to your body.
Okay. Because
I do agree that people's bodies are different. And I think we need to be really careful about sleep shaming. As someone who is less of a morning person, having been married to someone who's very much a morning person.
When she said that, sleep shaming.
Because, not everybody can survive on 6 hours of sleep, but I guess some people can. But so I guess my point is that I do appreciate that it started out by listening to your body. I do think that we each need to seriously listen to our bodies and what our bodies are telling us.
Yeah. Well, and you bring up a good point. I mean, as far as the rhythm, or what is it, the chronometer that you have, I was doing a masterclass by Matthew Brown, who's a sleep expert. Mm-hmm. And he was talking about when you are naturally awake and when you're not.
Just real quick, I wonder how that goes over at parties and stuff. So what do you do for a living? I'm a sleep expert. I can only imagine the jokes that get cracked about that. Oh, so you sleep for a living? What, you watch other people sleep for a living?
Yes, and
You're either weird or a creeper or... Yeah, I'm a sleep expert.
I'm a sleep expert.
But you did listen to that masterclass. It was quite...
He was very fascinating, actually.
It was very interesting.
And he is world-renowned for the book that he wrote.
He really is, yeah. So, he is a sleep expert, for real.
I'll bet you if he goes to parties, people actually sit down and listen to him.
Yeah, they probably do.
Because I want to know.
Because we're all interested in, that's what drew you to the masterclass and to these articles is, okay, how can I get better sleep?
Right. How can I get better sleep? So, and here's what really drew me to it. You ready? 7 to 9 hours is what it says, but it dependent on age and lifestyle, and it is also to be, wait for it, keep a consistent sleep schedule to avoid sleep troubles.
It's like your favorite word.
Consistent.
A consistent sleep schedule to avoid troubles.
There is something about consistency that just permeates all of life.
Why does the idea of keeping a consistent sleep schedule seem daunting?
I think because I don't know, as far as I look at it, as far as keeping a consistent sleep schedule, for me, when I was traveling a lot, so before COVID, I did not keep a consistent sleep schedule at all. In fact, so many years ago, 5-6 years ago, the reason we moved from Denver to Georgia, or from Denver to Georgia.
That's right. Colorado to Georgia.
That's why I was
Denver
going
to Atlanta
city
or
to
Colorado
state.
to Georgia.
Yeah, whichever was Denver to Atlanta or Colorado to Georgia. The reason we moved there is because I was traveling all the time to the East Coast, and I couldn't do it anymore. And so we had a conversation. We said, look, either I find a new job or
we look at moving someplace that makes this easier on you. Mm-hmm.
And we both decided. I remember the first conversation we had on that is, you're like, well, find a new job.
And you're like, I think we should move.
And we had a long conversation about that, and we ended up moving. Mm-hmm. But what happened though is, so I kept on traveling, and when traveling, my travels were a different city every single night. So I'd meet with a client, and from that client, travel to the next city. So my sleep was awful. I mean, if I got sleep, it was probably 4 hours if that. Of
Was
sleep.
that pretty consistent?
Pretty consistent. And what I mean by that is 4 good hours.
Okay.
So I would have enough time to get 7 to 9 hours. It wasn't like I was being, but new place,
Yeah.
different bed,
Stress that you're not going to wake up.
stress that I'm not going to wake up. All of those
All
different
those
things
things.
weighed on me. And therefore, this idea of a consistent sleep schedule. So now fast forward to COVID and all travel stops. And you know what? I did feel like when I was able to get consistent sleep, that felt much, much better. I felt a lot better. I don't know why that's better, but it is.
Our bodies just need, I guess the idea of a routine that your body can count on and that you aren't depleting it so much and then kind of this deplete it and then try to catch up thing that doesn't seem to work very well.
I think so. Because you love sleep.
I do love sleeping. It's one of my favorite things. In fact, I was thinking the other day, I have this one time that I had a perfect nap that I still remember. It's kind of funny.
And what? Well, don't leave us there.
It
What
was
this
while
perfect
we were
nap? Yeah.
It was while we were on vacation and we were camping near a lake and we were sleeping in a tent, which is kind of funny, but it was the afternoon and I had brought these foam pads for us to sleep on and had made it kind of a bed. And the tent was just the right perfect temperature. And I could hear people playing outside, but we were by a lake and everyone was happy. Not right by the lake, but,
Right,
we were camping
close
by a
enough.
lake and all the
Right.
people were vacationing and happy and kids were kind of being cheerful. And so the temperature of the tent was exactly perfect. And the way that the sun makes a pillow smell is one of my favorite things in the world. And I just remember being like, and it was the middle of the afternoon on vacation with no responsibility, outside in a tent with the smell of the sun on my pillow. It just was perfect to me.
And how long did you sleep? Do you remember?
I don't
Or
even
was it just
remember.
perfect?
I just remember laying down and being like, this is my perfect nap.
Am I in heaven?
That was it.
It's
my happy place.
It was your happy place. I think our audience right now wants to go and take a nap in a tent in a perfect place.
It was
it was just
or
a
maybe
beautiful
some
thing.
people are like, that is not the perfect nap. But for me, it was great. I loved it. It was wonderful.
So the thing so here's how to improve sleep quality. So they give this, and by the way, this is an article out of Well and Good, written by Isidore Baum, and writing this article, they talk about the most common signs of poor sleep quality, which you could probably guess what they are.
Being grumpy.
Yes.
That'd
irritable,
grumpy, tired all the time.
exhausted during the day.
Yeah, not paying attention.
One that you
not
might
paying
not know,
attention.
you fall asleep too fast.
Oh, really?
See, I love falling asleep fast.
You do fall asleep fast.
I do.
And that's not a good thing. How come that's not a good thing?
It just says that basically you skip by some of the stages of sleep that are necessary for your body to recover. That if you just go
Interesting.
straight to a deep sleep, there's some stages of sleep that you don't get. And so
kind of you've gotten so tired that the minute you stop moving, your body just instantly goes to sleep. And that's a sign that you're not getting enough sleep.
Yeah,
Okay.
that's what it is.
I could see that.
Can't fall asleep fast enough.
We can understand that. Yeah.
Right. Wake up often during the night.
Mm-hmm.
I've often thought that one was because my mattress wasn't comfortable, and therefore I was waking up a lot. But that's not apparently the case because people sleep on the ground and all kinds of different places.
It's the children.
It's the children. You're chronically fatigued during the day. Okay, so here's how to improve sleep. So the reason why, consistency in the first part, consistent sleep schedule. Here is one of the reasons why this also interested me. A little while ago, we had a streaker ask us if you could set a streak to go to sleep.
Right, to go to sleep at a certain time.
At a certain time or whatever it was. Now, at the time, and even now, I don't think that there is necessarily, I don't think you can make that laughably simple. I think it'd be very difficult. That'd be a very difficult streak to set, don't you think?
Yeah, I do think so. A lot of dependencies and a lot of, not something that you have a large or enough control over what's happening to be able to keep that streak.
Right, exactly. So with the sleep then, how to improve sleep quality. Now listen to this and think, can you make a streak out of any one of these? Okay, here they are. Try doing some physical activity during the day.
Yeah, you could totally make a streak out of that.
Practice relaxation.
That would be totally, you could make a great streak out of practicing relaxation.
Finding good strategies to deal with stress and emotions. Reducing alcohol and caffeine intake. And not too close to bedtime. Let's see here. Going outside during the day is helpful, as light is helpful to your circadian rhythm and helps trigger the sleep-wake cycle. Take lunch outdoors or
Hold
go
on,
for a
I
walk.
want to go back to the go outside one.
Yeah, go for it.
So I like that because I was thinking I've had a couple days in the past that I haven't been feeling very good. And I've noticed that when I go out in the morning on my walk or my run, that I start out feeling really yucky, but by the time just being outside in the fresh air and kind of getting my body going has helped me to feel better.
Has it really?
Yeah.
Because I know you've been struggling quite a bit over the last couple of weeks.
I mean, you've
just not been feeling so fantastic.
Right. And so and the reason I noticed it is because it became a little bit harder to keep that streak that I was just like, I really don't feel good. And it was hard to get myself out there. But then I did notice that I would start to feel better as I got going. And I've had a similar experience. That's doing it in the morning. So if you didn't
have your streak, would you have been doing what you're doing? Because knowing what you've been feeling the last couple of weeks, you probably would have been like, no, I'm not doing this.
Yeah. And that's why I was noticing it, is because part of what was getting me out the door was not wanting to lose that streak. And then also having had it long enough to recognize the benefits that what I'm feeling about, I don't want to go, that I can overcome that. Right. That the walking or the running will help overcome that. And then I was going to say, so that's in the morning to kind of get me going. But I've also had times that the opposite was true at night, like taking a walk in the evening before we go to bed or after dinner, just sometime in that time frame, also has the opposite effect of relaxing me, which I find interesting, that a morning going outside can invigorate me and an evening going outside can relax me. Do you find that interesting?
You know what? You bring up a good point. I had never actually thought about it before, because in the morning, you know me, I'd love to get right up in the morning, go out on a run, go out on a walk, whatever it is, and make it happen. And you are right. When we have gone for a stroll in the evening, it has been a little bit more relaxing. So we have been at this streak now, run or walk at least 1 mile, 6 days a week. For 337 weeks. Okay, so that translates into more than 6 years now.
More than 6 years now.
And we've been doing that every single day, except for Sundays. So, that's why we call it a weekly streak, is because it's 337 weeks that we've kept it alive of doing at least 6 days, or at least 1 mile, 6 days a week.
Yep.
And, as you look at that and consider it, there may be some out there who think, yeah, that's crazy. That's obsessive. You're not feeling well. Should you be out there walking?
And that's what I guess I love about the Laughably Simple, is that there's no, it just gets me out the door. I don't have to push myself to accomplish that streak. I just have to get out and be okay walking that mile.
And I agree with you. It really does help.
It does help.
Whenever you
and
look
it
at
helped. I've had a couple things lately. I went on a run and I fell on a race that we did, and I hurt both my foot and my knee. Yeah. Like I injured myself. And it was great though, because I genuinely
Have we told everyone what it was that you did? The Superman dive?
I don't know. I did a Superman dive on a 10K right at mile 10 in front of the...
Not a 10K.
Or no, it was a half marathon.
There we go.
Right at mile 10, a half marathon, right at mile 10, literally feet away from the water station.
Yes.
Not the water stations behind me, but the water stations right in front of me, where anybody who's run a race knows all the people at the water stations are watching the people coming.
And I just have to let you know, I was so proud of her. She took this fall with such dignity. With as much dignity as you can.
With as much dignity as you can have in an adult fall that's completely not graceful.
Yeah, it wasn't a trip. It was a complete full-on fall.
It was a full-on fall. That it was the kind of fall that kept on giving. Like when I first fell, it was my hands and knee that were bleeding and scuffed. That I was like, wow, that really hurt. And then the next day it was my knee, like my muscles of my knee. And then the next day it was I hurt my foot when I fell. I twisted it. Anyway, I did appreciate that my Laughably Simple to walk. I walked for a long time after that. But I genuinely believe it helped keep things loosened up. And I think it helped me heal faster. Yeah. Because of the being able to, a body, and we're meant to be in motion. If we get too sedentary, right, things don't work well. And a streak has helped me in times in the past where I think I would have talked myself out of going.
Yeah.
because I wasn't feeling up to it.
So as we look at this, I just want to suggest out there, if you're having a tough time sleeping or something like that, set a streak. I mean, set a streak to go on a walk beforehand. This one even says take a bath. Set a streak and see if that helps out. Even I even printed out another article that says end your day with stretches for a better night's sleep. I mean, you can even set a streak around that. Do at least one stretch before you go to bed. And there's all kinds of studies out there. The key here, though, is the consistency. And I believe that's what you and I have experienced. And one of the things that I've experienced since COVID is consistency of the schedule has helped me to get better sleep and feel better during the day, to be more productive during the day. I think there's some times where we think that if we don't sleep at all, we're going to be even more productive. And in actuality, it's just not true.
Right.
And so getting better sleep, that's your streaking moment right there. Anything else you want to add?
Just that I love that in talking about sleep, I think last time we had talked a little bit about, because we had talked about having an argument and the thing that we've heard that married couples shouldn't let the sun set on their arguments.
Yes.
And in the last one, we're like, you know what? Sometimes the sun needs to set and you need to go to sleep because the argument is because you're tired.
Right.
And so I love this, that having some things in place. I know I have a couple streaks that I do pretty consistently at night before I go to bed that help me to kind of calm down and relax.
Yeah, exactly.
And having streaks that help with that is
and
huge.
Children that interrupt all the time are part of it. I mean, if you've just had a baby, you're not getting great sleep.
No, you're not. You're not.
I mean, let's just own that right out. I mean, there is the ideal and what it is that you want to do. However, I think what you can do to in setting a streak, be able to, and not to belabor this point, we've been on it a lot, but setting a streak allows you to give yourself permission to do the things that will help you get the sleep that you need and relax.
Yep. In those different times and seasons and different scenarios.
So I thought about this next one. I thought about you quite a bit. And this one is quite controversial. It's been controversial, but as I read it, I thought about you, Jami. Because
great.
Yeah, and the
controversial. I thought about you.
Now the reason why I thought about you is because let's just set the stage. Let me just set the stage for this one a little bit. So that the title of the article that I read here is "Let It Go" with a question mark. Let it go, let it go. And she's asking, should you let it go? But the "Let It Go" Disney princess culture isn't toxic. Study finds. Now, in our day and age of gender roles and diversity and non-gender roles and non-diversity and all the different things that are going on about gender right now, this one caught my eye, but not for the reasons that, I mean, as far as the whole concepts of gender and gender diversity and diverse roles and so forth, that's not what I wanted to talk about.
Okay.
As I read this, and I'm not going to read this whole thing, but as I read this particular article, there was a study that was done that asked the question, is it detrimental to girls to watch Disney princess movies in the sense that it limits them and it confines particular roles to them that are based on past themes and past roles, like doing dishes is for women,
right.
Something like that. Or leave the sewing to the women is one of the things that it quotes in here that a Disney movie says. Yes.
Okay, I have to tell you this, even though I don't have the material behind it, but I just went to a little retreat with two of my friends, and to celebrate her 50th birthday, and because they came to visit me and just have fun with me. But,
hi, friends.
Hi, friends. But one of the friends gave the other friend.
One friend gave another friend.
Gave her a book that was all the things that were interesting in the year that she was born.
Oh, wow.
And I think she was born in 1970 or
Okay.
1971. It was 1971. So this book had all of these cool things that were involved in 1971 or cool in 1970. So we had so much fun kind of going through the book and looking at different things. But there was this one part that was instructions. It was an instruction booklet that was included in a sewing machine. And it had some serious gender role issues.
Really? Are you serious?
It was interesting to read it, but just the way that the roles were very defined, and the things that, how sometimes you can go back and be like, is this for real? Did people really say that? Because you could never say that now.
Never say what it says in there now
today.
And
so it talked about, and I was surprised that it was from 1971 because it seemed more like the Leave It to Beaver age or time period, like the 1950s, 1960s time frame. But it talked about all of these things that women needed to do in order to be calm while they were sewing. And so it talked about how important that it was that your house be tidy and ready to go so that it wasn't a distraction while you were sewing. And it talked about how important it was that you be dressed so that if people stopped by, you weren't embarrassed while you were sewing, that you weren't dressed, all nice. And
you are kidding me.
No, it was extensive, but we had quite the chuckle over it.
Sure.
Mostly just because we're like, it's not the way that we are anymore at all.
Wow. Okay. So as I read this study, I thought about you because when we first got married, we both decided that we wanted to have children.
Yes. And we knew we wanted to have a big family.
Right. So 7 children, probably not 7 children. I think we were thinking a few less than that.
I can't remember. I feel like our families like my mom teases us that we wanted 12, but I don't ever remember that.
I don't remember talking 12. That's a
we do.
And to those of our streakers out there who have 12, good on you. And those of our streakers out there who have 1 or 2, good on you too. Because having children is in and of itself quite the experience. So we had been talking, we got married, and we're like, okay, if we're going to have kids, we both agreed that one of us was going to stay home with the children. Now, would you say at that time, so because we got married in
91.
91. So we got married in 91. Would you say at that time there was a little less definition on roles as far as who's going to do what because of your particular gender?
I feel like it was definitely being talked about, but not as much as it is currently.
Right. And we both had jobs at that time. I mean, when we got married, we both had jobs. You were working at a mortgage company. I was teaching. And we both worked lawn service during the summer.
Yep. Those lovely college jobs.
Oh, those are awesome. Yeah. And people are like, wait a second. You guys were pondering having children in college and you got married. Yeah, we got married just after our freshman year of college. We got married our sophomore year of college.
Yep, we were young.
And we both felt that it was necessary for us to both complete our college degree. So we both worked for that. When we decided that we were going to have children and have a large family, we said, look, one of us is going to stay home and the other of us is going to bring in the money. Now, I want to make this very clear. Bringing in the money is not the career. One or the other bringing in income, I don't think defines a career or defines your life choice, who you are.
Right.
It's just, one of us is going to, in this world and where we are, you got to provide some cash.
Right. If you're
no matter
have
what,
a family,
right?
you got to provide for that.
So we decided at that time that you were like, I want to stay home with the kids.
Yep.
And I was like, fine, I'll get the job.
Yep.
And you and I have been that ever since.
Right.
Right? For 30 years, we've decided together, and we've talked about it quite a few different times, but I've decided to have a job and to bring in the income, and you've decided to have your career be a full-time mother.
Full-time mom, stay. Yep.
Okay. So the reason why I'm leading up to all this, and hopefully I'm not dragging this out too much, but I wanted to set up the scenario. So you took on a very traditional role of being a mother. We had our first daughter, Megan, okay? Born in 1994, all right? Megan loves Disney princesses.
Absolutely loved them.
I mean, all the way through. Not loved, loves.
Still.
I mean, still to this day. I mean, how many Disney princess movies did you watch with her?
Well, because we had Megan, then we had Rose, then we had Natalia, all within about 24. They were 2 years and a month apart, each one of them.
Yeah.
And so, we watched a lot of Disney. I don't think there's a Disney princess movie we didn't watch.
Several times,
yes.
Disney books.
Disney
princess books that were memorized.
Yep.
I remember
we read
all
a lot
of these,
of the books. Yep,
right?
We did all of them.
So in this article, it talks a little bit about, that because of those traditional roles that are, or the backward looking roles that are portrayed in Disney princess movies, that could have an adverse effect.
Right? Is that dangerous?
Adverse, right? Is that dangerous? Did you ever think about that while you were raising our girls?
You know what? I didn't. I loved Disney. And it's not until as things kind of started to go that I did kind of start to notice some different patterns in Disney movies. And it is quite fun to go back and look at the really older Disney movies, Snow White, or the other day you pulled out, and this isn't Disney, but we pulled out an original Popeye cartoon.
Yes.
And it is fascinating to look and see how different things are, how much things have changed. And, but it was interesting because in this article, I remember reading the study that first came out that did, because they did the study, and the conclusions at the study at the beginning were, you know what, this could have a potentially dangerous effect on your daughters. You need to be aware of this.
Right, exactly.
And then I think it comes out
this
this
is
one
by
and says
a Dr. Coyne that originally did the study, and basically the way, it's too detailed and complicated to go into how she did the study, but basically a year after watching Disney movies, she went back to see in the original first study to see if this had if they took on these these stereotypical roles that Disney was portraying, and she said that they did.
They did.
And that it could be detrimental. But then a second study went 5 years later, and they
now
said
these kids are 5 years older.
Right.
And she said that the study was not conclusive that it had made. In fact, it wasn't saying that, they have more gender biases from watching these Disney movies.
So as you raised our girls and as we raised them together, some of the things in our household, would you say that you and I had specific gender roles?
Yes.
And what were, what would you say?
Well, just like you had said, gender roles, I guess that it would be classified traditionally in the sense that I stayed home and you went to work. So that gender role. But as far as in our home,
in our home.
No, I don't feel like, because I do feel like I grew up in a home that was more, and probably most of us grew up in a home that did have those gender roles more defined. So in other words, how many of the dads helped with dishes kind of thing. And I do feel like that our home did not have that. There wasn't it's a woman's job to do this and it's a man's job to do this. We shared those roles and those responsibilities equally, whether that was
washing the dishes,
disciplining the children, loving the children.
Washing the dishes.
Yes, you got up just as much with them when they were sick as I did.
I just want everyone to know out there right now, I sewed hems in pants.
You did.
You didn't.
I know. You sewed hems in pants and buttons on shirts, ironed. You taught our boys and our girls how to iron. You taught our boys and our girls how to iron. You taught me a little bit how to iron. I remember that. So just these, I guess I loved that. And that's the thing that I kind of took away from this article, is the thing that I felt was the most important as we thought about this different thing, is that the communication that you have as a family.
Yeah.
The communication of recognizing that we can take on specific roles. As a family, that's part of what you do, whether those be different roles in a lot of different ways. Like I depend on some of our children to be the lighthearted people and crack the joke to kind of loosen the tension, because that's something that they're good at and interested in, and they kind of do that for our family. They have different roles within the family that help us function together as a whole family. But the communication and talking about things is important, and recognizing that we are all equal parts of this family, that there isn't I'm important and you're not because I have this role and you don't at this time, but that we are all working together to support the family in those different roles, and each of those roles has validity, and that those roles can change. That's the other thing that can happen, is what may be working at a certain time in life. Dramatic things or non-dramatic things can happen, and those roles can change, whether out of desire or out of necessity. And as you've raised your children in communicating, that can make those transitions easier too, to recognize, okay, mom and dad can do a lot of different roles, and so can I.
Yeah.
There's not one thing that's only for girls and other things that are only for boys. The other thing that was interesting that I thought about this as we were talking about this is that I've had a lot of discussions with our boys about the superhero movies. And so it's not just gender roles in Disney movies with girls, but I've had a lot of opportunity to talk to our boys, because I love the Marvel movies, and they're kind of, now it's a whole universe, the Marvel universe. It's a thing. And I've had the opportunity to talk to our boys a lot about violence. Sometimes there's violence in these movies that you're like, that if that really happened, those people would be deeply injured. Like, that's not, you don't
emotionally, psychologically, physically.
You don't just get up and walk away from this stuff. Yeah. And then also sometimes this feeling that when you've been wronged by someone, and I find this a lot in movies that are more maybe appealing to little boys sometimes, is this feeling and that when you've been wronged, you can physically make that wrong feel better by getting revenge, by having revenge on that person. And sometimes even the good guy gets the revenge and everything's better. And just the opportunity to talk to him about these things really have long-term consequences when we look at them. So the thing that I took away from these articles was communicating with our children, looking at these things and really communicating what you see and what you don't see and how would this really affect someone. And in that communication, then you, I mean, it opens up the opportunity to speak about all kinds of things.
Right. What I, as you talked through that and as I thought about different things, so speaking of streaking and consistency, what interested me about this article is I thought about you and I and what we had chosen to do and how our girls watch Disney princess movies. Like, I mean, all of them. You never made a point, and I never made a point of specifically pointing out that's wrong. You know,
right.
You can do better than that. You don't have to, consign yourself to finding Prince Charming or to being saved by someone. We never really
did that. I probably did point out sometimes that most people don't break into song. But although I have met people who do. But I'm like, okay, there are people out there that when a problem hits, they break into a song.
Absolutely.
Most people don't. But I do remember making light of that.
But for all intents and purposes, you did not point out anything about gender at all while watching these shows.
No.
And obviously I'm going to a point on this, but let me talk about streaking for just a second before I get to that point. The streaking thing that I looked at, and that is to your point as far as communication is concerned, every week we would have at least one family dinner together.
Yeah.
It may have not been every single night. We did a lot. I mean, there was a lot of times. And in those family dinners, we would bring up subjects and discuss them at length. We would read family scriptures, and then we would discuss at length. And sometimes it would be from the scriptures that we read. Mm-hmm. We would have discussions. Sometimes it'd be the discussions that something that came across in the day that was interesting at that particular point in time, be it political, be it spiritual, be it physical, be it academic. Any of those topics came up and were completely available for conversation at the table, and anyone could say anything at the table. Would you say that's true?
Yes, and except for the disrespecting mom, because that's an actual rule in the house.
Rule,
so
yeah.
They couldn't say anything in the sense that if it was disrespectful. But they had the ability to contribute equally to the conversation.
Right. I believe that those dinner time conversations were paramount in us being able to communicate as a family what is the opportunities that we have, and that we do not have to conform to whatever the world is telling us to conform to.
Right, whatever other people are saying.
Because, for example, right now, there's a lot of pressure, I believe, on you as a woman to go out and start working. Mm-hmm. Do you feel that that's true?
Yeah. And I think that what we've achieved as women, the opportunity to be able to go out and provide for a family or to pursue interests that we have is absolutely paramount, important, that we've been able to accomplish so much of that.
Right.
And I'm not saying we're perfect at it and that there's not still room, but we have come a long way as a society in the way that we treat and respect women. Hold on, I have to get a drink.
She's getting a drink of water. While she's getting the drink of water, I know you've got a point to say. I'm going to interject here real quickly. As we talk about this particular area, the thing that I love too, I'm losing her.
Button?
I'm losing her. There is a cough button. It's way over there. So, are you ready? Or do you need a little bit more?
I'm almost there.
I'm almost there. The thing that I look at is that I feel it's as equally as important for any one of us to choose whatever it is we want to do. And that's why I go back to the beginning of when you and I would have gladly stayed home if you were the one that wanted to go out and to earn the money for the family. We chose our career choice in such a way that it wasn't that way. You had a career, I had a career. We both have careers. And I think that's what I wanted to get to is being a professional isn't about the money that you're making. It's about the thing that you're doing repeatedly and who you're becoming. And so as you look at streaking, who you want to be professionally if you want to be a professional mother, there's things that you're going to do on a regular basis to become a professional mother. Now, can you be a professional mother and a professional lawyer or a professional sales representative? Absolutely. And just like I can be a professional father as well as a professional lawyer or a professional sales or a professional academic or, whatever. I can keep going on and on with all the different things. But the professional part of it is what you choose to do to be that person.
Right. And the way and the freedom to be able to do that. That's what I was going to say. I don't know if I'm going to make it through this one. Holy cow. The ability I think as I look at, I think the point that you were making as we were going forward and looking at our children is that without specifically pointing out things in the Disney movies, that our children grew up without having these gender biases.
Well, and let me get to that. Don't steal that one just yet, because I want to get there. I'm right there with you. In other words, without you making a direct reference to, because that's one of the things that I see especially in this article that was written here. And by the way, this article is out of the Wall Street Journal. And it's the journalist is Julie Jargon, and she writes for the Wall Street Journal's tech section, and she often writes around these particular areas. But what she quotes is a study or a place where, what was it? I just got to read this last one here. It's just a second. I'm finding it. Oh, my daughters, their mom. Dr. Coyne's study gives parents like Natalie Thomas. Okay, this is. Hold on. This is it right here. Eve Rodisky, author of The Fair Play, a book about how married couples can balance domestic duties, said Disney princess movies have given her a natural way to talk about gender stereotypes with her two sons, ages 10 and 12, as well as with her 4-year-old daughter. Once, while watching Cinderella, her younger son ran to get her. "There's a gender emergency," he screamed. One of the female mice working on Cinderella's dress had told a male mouse to leave the sewing to the women. The boy felt this was sexist. Daniel Friedman, co-CEO of an employee wellness company, said he and his wife have pointed out dated portrayals of women while watching Disney princess movies with their 5-year-old daughter and have given her books on real-life female pioneers, including Harriet Tubman and Amelia Earhart. His older daughter had never really, didn't really ever have Disney princess fever, is what it says. Quote, "My daughters see their mom, who has a successful career as a lawyer, and they see how we share domestic responsibilities 50-50, Mr. Friedman said. When my girls talk about their future, they talk about what careers they'll have, not how a prince will rescue them from a castle. Dr. Coyne's study gives parents like Natalie Thomas hope that their children can enjoy princess films without buying into the fairy tale. Ms. Thomas, a freelance writer in New Jersey, was staunchly anti-princess when she had her first child, a girl who's now 8. She bought her tool sets instead of tutus and steered her to shows like Dora the Explorer. But her daughter gravitated to princesses from time to time, and Ms. Thomas loosened her rules a bit. She watched some of the classic Disney films with her, careful to point out any antiquated messages. Quote, "The study makes me feel better about the whole situation," Ms. Thomas said. "There's so much more representation in the media for what it means to look like and be a girl now. I think you can pepper in a Disney princess here and there."
Okay.
All right, go ahead. Are you ready now?
I think I can speak now.
Okay.
So setting opinion aside, here's what I loved about what you read. 1, involved parents. 2, let me show you some books as well that about these women that are real life women. So being able to talk about real people and read books together. The last one where the mom sat down and watched the movie with her and was able to open up discussion about it. These are all really good, important things. And
Absolutely.
as we do those things as a family, moms and dads, and working together as families and grandparents, and we're able to open these lines of communication and be able to discuss the things that are really happening and that are important.
Absolutely. And the reason I thought about this is because without being specifically pointing out exactly everything that may have been wrong in a Disney movie, you raised 4 daughters, one of who is studying to be a lawyer, one of who is studied and has a degree in art and is also a mom.
And a mom.
One who is studying to be a teacher and looking at it. And the fourth is a ballerina.
And still deciding what she wants to do, but she's all over the place. She's super excited about all of the options.
So I guess what the reason why I bring that up and why I make a deliberate point is to sustain exactly what you were saying. And that is, it's the communication that's important. It's the idea, our children grew up in a very traditional household. Mm-hmm. And yet they are exploring all the career choices. Our girls don't feel limited in what it is that they can do because you and I chose traditional roles.
Exactly. And I think a huge part of what we've done together, and that I honestly, at some point credit your mom with, was helping me at an early age as a mom to recognize each of my children as individuals, and that they have likes, they have dislikes, they have things that they're going to like that I don't understand why they like, and they're going to not like some of the things that I think, how can you not like this? But to be able to explore them as individuals and allow them the freedom to think about all the different things that they do want to do. I remember one time our son was talking about wanting to be a YouTuber, that he wanted to grow up and be a YouTuber, and that's how he was going to make a lot of money. And this was several years ago, before it was as big of a thing as it is now. And at the first beginning of it, I was like, that's a dumb idea. You're not going to grow up and play games on YouTube and have people watch you. You're not going to make money that way. But I remember at one point
there's multi-millionaires that have done their career just that, isn't it?
And that was the part where I was just thinking, okay, you know what? He wants to explore this. I think as parents, we have the opportunity to support our children in exploring new things, and some of them will stick and a lot of them probably won't, but the opportunity to explore the ideas with them is really, it's a treasure and a gift, and I think a parental responsibility to allow them to think about all of those things.
Mm-hmm. As we look at, considering communicating with your children and what it is that they're doing, talking all about everything that they can become, I think whether boy or girl, the great part about where the age of history in which we're in right now is career choices are open across the board. And I guess one of the things, what I don't want to do is condemn someone because of their career choice. And here's specifically what I mean by that. Don't condemn someone because they choose to become a mother. Mm-hmm. And that's what they choose to do full time. Equally, don't condemn someone because they choose to be a father and they choose to do that full time. Or don't condemn someone because they choose to be, for example, our daughter, a lawyer and a mother, mm-hmm. or a lawyer and a father. It's the opportunity to really build and lift every single person that's out there rather than sitting there and condemning one choice over the other.
I agree. And I think what I feel like you're saying is, in our pursuit to continue to do things better, to not demonize each other, to allow each other the opportunity to thrive in the roles that we choose.
Right.
So that was good. Your third article?
Oh, what's that? I thought you had more to say.
Nope, that was it.
You're like,
and that's all I'm going to say about that.
That's all I'm saying. I'm not saying any more. Well, I don't think we're getting on time here. Should we go into the third article, or should we wait for it the last time? Well, I don't know. This is one that we're going to get into. I mean, this is one I feel pretty passionate about.
All right, so we hold off.
As far as your child's first smartphone, a guide to the proper age, phone type, and parental controls.
A guide to the proper age.
Here's the thing. Just right out of the chute, I'm like, look, like you're some authoritarian to tell me when our child should have it. Now, in saying that. Why are you laughing at me?
Because I love it when you get this way.
Well, when I get
Who are you to tell me when the right age is?
I think who are you to tell anyone? Now, you can make a suggestion. You can say, you know what, here's some thoughts that you might want to consider. And part of this right here is in your child's first smartphone and the proper age, phone type, and parental controls, is it relates a lot to what you were saying in regards to every child is different.
Yep.
There's an opportunity.
So we'll start with that next time?
Well, should we?
Yep, let's start with that one because I've got things to say about that.
You do you? Mm-hmm. Well, and another one that we're going to do too that I'd like to get into is why laughing is great for the brain.
Oh, that's a great one.
Yeah, don't you love that?
Smartphones and laughing.
Smartphones and laughing, and we'll do a lot of it. Well, I am Jeff.
And I'm Jami.
And we are the Jeff and Jami Show, powered by Streaking. If you don't know anything about Streaking, look it up. It's on Amazon. It's a book. and we have just a great time doing streaking.
We love it.
So look it
We're
up.
streaking all the time.
If you want to reach out to us, please do so at Jeffrey, Jeffrey, at streakingmastery.com.
Or Jami, Jami, at streakingmastery.com.
And until we talk again,
Keep streaking.
A better you, a better you. It's the little things that